The Ministry of Defense themselves have sent me a lot of paperwork in regards to Invictus, and surprise, surprise, it's redacted.
A growing scandal involving Prince Harry and his last remaining genuine charity project, the Invictus Games.
Prince Harry's most recognizable charitable achievement is once again at the center of public debate. A newly released book by royal biographer Tom Bower has reignited questions about the direction of the Invictus Games, the organization's finances, and the role Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have played as the event has grown into a global brand. The discussion doesn't stop there. Publicly available financial reports, changes in corporate sponsorship, and a government document containing a heavily redacted section have all added to the conversation. While supporters say the Games continue to transform the lives of wounded veterans around the world, critics argue that greater transparency is needed to maintain public confidence. So what exactly has been claimed, what has been confirmed, and what remains open to debate? In this video, we'll examine the allegations, the publicly available information, and the responses from those involved, so you can decide for yourself. Let's begin. To understand why this story has generated so much attention, it's worth starting with the author behind it. Tom Bower is one of Britain's best-known investigative biographers. Over the years, he has written books about political leaders, business figures, and members of the royal family. His work often relies on interviews, public records, and extensive research, but it has also attracted criticism from those who dispute his conclusions. His latest book, Betrayal, focuses on Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. In it, Bower argues that the couple made a series of decisions, both before and after stepping back from royal duties, that changed not only their own public image, but also affected organizations closely associated with them. One of those organizations is the Invictus Games. The book has become a talking point among royal commentators because it raises questions about whether the Games have remained focused on the veterans they were created to serve. Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and the Invictus Foundation have rejected the book's portrayal, describing it as inaccurate and misleading. That disagreement lies at the heart of the current debate. But before looking at the claims themselves, it's important to understand what the Invictus Games were designed to accomplish. When Prince Harry launched the Invictus Games in 2014, the idea received widespread praise. The international sporting competition was created for wounded, injured, and sick service personnel and military veterans. Its goal was not simply to award medals, but to encourage recovery, build confidence, and remind participants that life after injury could still be filled with purpose and achievement. For many competitors, the Games became far more than a sporting event. They offered rehabilitation, friendship, and an opportunity to reconnect with others who had faced similar physical and emotional challenges. Over the years, thousands of competitors from around the world have taken part, and many have spoken publicly about the positive impact the Games have had on their lives. That mission remains the foundation of the organization today. However, Tom Bower argues that as the event became more prominent internationally, media attention increasingly shifted away from the competitors and toward Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. According to his account, coverage that once highlighted the athletes gradually became more focused on the Duke and Duchess of Sussex.
There is movement. Look at this from Meg Yacht Grifter, who is now calling on a boycott of the Invictus Games, saying there is something not sitting right with this charity. Charities that have something to hide should not be trusted, especially with so much NGO fraud being exposed in the last few years. And they are calling on Boeing and American Airlines to think twice before donating.
Supporters of the couple strongly disagree with that assessment, pointing out that high-profile patrons naturally attract media attention, which can also increase awareness of the Games themselves. Even so, Bower believes that change in focus became one of the defining issues surrounding the event. His criticism becomes even stronger when discussing what he says he witnessed firsthand. Unlike many commentators who rely solely on media reports, Bower says he attended the Vancouver Invictus Games and based parts of his book on his own observations. In Betrayal, he alleges that significant resources were devoted to travel, accommodation, and transportation for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle during the event.
When they said Invictus is a scam, the veterans are being used for PR, privately funded faux trips with lavish accommodations and Meghan's merchandising schemes. That's not how charities work. Royal YouTube sensation, according to Taz, added, "This is the very reason why everyone who originally worked on and set up Invictus no longer works there. Since leaving the royal fold, the foundation has become a cash cow for Harry and Meghan."
He also claims that staff were instructed to address the couple using formal titles and argues that the overall presentation increasingly revolved around their appearances. These allegations have been disputed by Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and the Invictus Foundation. No court has ruled on the claims made in the book, and viewers should distinguish between Bauer's reported observations and independently verified facts. Even so, the publication sparked renewed interest in the games and encouraged many people to look beyond the book itself. Attention soon shifted toward publicly available documents. Researchers, journalists, and online commentators began examining financial reports and government records to see whether they supported or challenged the concerns raised in Betrayal. One particular document would become the center of that discussion. It wasn't a newspaper article or a leaked memo. It was an official agreement connected to the 2025 Invictus Games, and one section had been heavily redacted. That missing information would soon become one of the most talked about aspects of the entire controversy. The publication of Betrayal encouraged many observers to look beyond the book itself and examine publicly available records. One of the documents that attracted attention was an agreement connected to the 2025 Invictus Games in Canada. During an independent review of publicly available material, researcher Rachel Maxwell highlighted a version of the agreement that contained a heavily redacted section. That immediately sparked discussion. According to reports, the missing portion related to operating budgets and licensing arrangements. While the contents of the redacted section have never been publicly disclosed, its absence raised questions among some commentators about why those details had been withheld. Because public funding was involved, critics argued that taxpayers should be able to understand how government money was allocated. Others pointed out that redactions in government contracts are not uncommon and can occur for legal, commercial, or privacy reasons. Without access to the hidden material, it's impossible to know exactly what information was removed or why. Nevertheless, the mystery surrounding the document became a story in its own right.
We're a little upset about where the money is going because right now there's been a 63% drop in actual grants to wounded warriors, despite the fact that they have more money in their bank than ever from carryover. And in Vancouver, they brought in, it was around 62 million.
Not bad.
50% of that was from the government of Canada and BC, meaning that was taxpayers.
The discussion intensified when reports indicated that the document later became more difficult to access through the Invictus Canada website. According to those reports, visitors were redirected through a document request process rather than being able to download the file directly. Whether that change was routine or simply administrative, it prompted even more public curiosity. And once people began looking more closely at the paperwork, attention naturally shifted to another source of information that anyone could examine: the charity's financial reports. Unlike rumors or anonymous sources, charity financial statements provide a public record of how an organization reports its income and expenditures. Supporters and critics alike began reviewing those filings to understand how the Invictus Foundation's finances had evolved. Public reports indicated that the organization received more funding than it had during the previous reporting period. At the same time, the financial statements also showed increases in several areas, including executive compensation, cash reserves, and legal expenses. Those figures quickly became part of the wider public conversation. Some observers argued that because revenue had increased, spending directly connected to programs supporting veterans should also have risen proportionally. Others cautioned that financial statements only present part of the picture. Large international sporting events involve planning years in advance, contractual commitments, staffing, insurance, security, venue costs, broadcasting arrangements, and a wide range of operational expenses that are not immediately obvious from headline figures alone. In other words, interpreting charity accounts is rarely straightforward. Still, the financial reports became another piece of the puzzle for those questioning whether the organization had remained fully aligned with its original mission. As discussion continued, events outside the financial statements began drawing even greater attention. Several important partners started making decisions that added another layer to the story. One of the most closely watched developments involved Boeing. For years, the aerospace company had been one of the Invictus Games' significant corporate supporters. When Boeing's sponsorship came to an end, many royal commentators took notice. Some pointed out that the timing followed the publication of Tom Bower's book. However, there is no publicly available evidence establishing a connection between the end of the sponsorship and the book's release. Companies change sponsorship strategies for many reasons, and no official statement has linked Boeing's decision to the controversy surrounding Betrayal. Even so, the timing became a frequent topic of discussion across news reports and online commentary. Around the same period, reports also indicated that Australia withdrew a previously announced government funding commitment for a future Invictus Games event. While the reasons behind that decision have been debated publicly, it represented another significant challenge for an organization that relies on partnerships and public support to stage large international competitions. Attention then turned to Birmingham, the planned host city for the 2027 Invictus Games. According to reports, organizers have faced the difficult task of securing major corporate sponsors in an increasingly challenging economic environment. There were also reports that a member of the Invictus Games Foundation's board stepped down during this period. Each of these developments may have occurred for different reasons. Viewed individually, none necessarily tells the whole story. But taken together, they have contributed to growing public scrutiny and renewed questions about the future direction of one of Prince Harry's most recognizable charitable initiatives. The discussion, however, was about to move beyond sponsorships and financial reports, because when one particular number entered the public conversation, it became the focus of an entirely new debate. As questions surrounding the Invictus Games continued to grow, another figure began attracting significant attention. Public reports estimated that the 2025 Invictus Games in Vancouver carried an overall cost of approximately 63.2 million Canadian dollars while hosting 543 competitors.
I looked into the Invictus budget for the Vancouver Games, which was $63 million for a little over 500 participants. That's right, $117,000 was spent per player for 9 days.
That figure quickly became the focus of public debate. Some commentators calculated the approximate cost per participant and compared it with other adaptive sporting events, particularly the U.S. Warrior Games, which inspired the creation of Invictus. Those comparisons led to an important discussion, but they also require context. The Warrior Games and the Invictus Games are different organizations with different funding models, international responsibilities, host city agreements, and operational structures. Comparing the two is not always straightforward. Even so, critics argued that the overall cost appeared high and questioned whether a greater proportion of available resources could have gone directly toward long-term veteran support. Some suggested additional investment in rehabilitation programs, prosthetic technology, mental health services, adaptive housing, or mobility equipment. Supporters of the Invictus Games see the issue differently. They argue that the Games provide benefits that extend far beyond financial assistance alone. For many competitors, participation offers renewed confidence, international recognition, lasting friendships, and a sense of purpose that cannot easily be measured in financial terms. In that sense, the debate isn't simply about dollars and cents, it's about how success should be measured. Is the greatest value found in the event itself, or in the long-term support available after the closing ceremony? That question remains central to the wider conversation, and it brings us to perhaps the most important response of all. How have Prince Harry and the Invictus Foundation answered the growing criticism? Throughout the public discussion, Prince Harry and the Invictus Foundation have consistently rejected the criticisms presented in Tom Bower's Betrayal. They maintain that the Games continue to fulfill their founding mission of supporting wounded, injured, and sick service personnel and veterans around the world. From their perspective, the organization remains focused on recovery, resilience, and the life-changing experiences shared by competitors and their families. The foundation has also emphasized the positive impact the Games have had over more than a decade, highlighting thousands of participants whose lives have been affected through sport, rehabilitation, and international support networks. At the same time, the publication of Betrayal has encouraged renewed public interest in how the organization is managed. Questions surrounding financial reporting, sponsorship changes, and the redacted government document have all contributed to broader discussions about transparency and accountability. it's important to recognize that public debate alone does not establish wrongdoing. Large charitable organizations are often subject to intense scrutiny, particularly when they receive public funding, corporate sponsorship, or attract global media attention. Whether one agrees with Bauer's conclusions or believes the criticism goes too far, the conversation has clearly expanded beyond one book. It has become part of a larger discussion about public trust, charitable governance, and how high-profile organizations balance visibility with accountability. More than a decade after its founding, the Invictus Games remain one of Prince Harry's most significant achievements. For countless veterans, the Games have provided opportunities for recovery, competition, and renewed purpose. That legacy should not be overlooked. At the same time, charities connected to public funding and major corporate partnerships are naturally expected to operate with a high degree of transparency. The release of Betrayal, the discussion surrounding financial reports, changes in sponsorship, and the attention drawn to a redacted government document have all fueled a broader public conversation. Some believe these developments raise legitimate questions that deserve closer examination. Others argue that the criticism overlooks the positive impact the Games continue to have on the lives of wounded veterans around the world. Ultimately, the evidence available today allows for different interpretations, and that is why this story continues to generate debate. As new information emerges, the conversation surrounding the Invictus Games and Prince Harry's role within it is likely to continue. Now we'd like to hear from you. Do you believe the questions raised in this video highlight the need for greater transparency, or do you think the controversy has been overstated? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this in-depth analysis, please consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and turning on notifications so you never miss our latest coverage. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.